Hi guys, Dave here from Fresh Baked with an update on construction projects going on around the Disneyland Resort. Man, so much has happened in the downtown Disney project since last week. Actually, so much has happened at the backside of the AMC Theater. It's getting destroyed from the inside out. What started out as just a hole in the back of the building has turned into an entire section pretty much destroyed and gutted. They first cut a hole into the building so they can kind of get in there and strip the interiors out from the inside, as much as possible anyway. And then they would take a grapple attached to an excavator, which we saw in our previous update. We saw that excavator getting to work. And they would just rip down the roof and anything attached to it with that grapple. On this day, it looks like the excavator was simply working on picking up or destroying whatever it was on the ground, stuff that had already been ripped down or out of the building. Here you can see the excavator ripping out part of the building on the left, with that big pile of steel just over the fence line. It's been busy. And look at that. Just picking up an I-beam like it's no big deal, throwing it aside. Get out of here, steel. That's so cool. So this is going to be a sight to see for quite a while now, as I still don't know how much of this building they're going to destroy. Maybe all of it, or maybe not all of it. I'm not sure. We'll be coming back every week to check this out. But for now, let's go to the parking lot. Parking lot at the Paradise Pier Hotel. Interesting stuff. They fenced off a part of the Paradise Pier parking lot, obviously, for staging, equipment, things like that. But what I want to show you is something that I found, some familiar markings on the ground. You remember these from our downtown Disney parking lot days? We saw these all over the place in the downtown Disney parking lot. They were markings for construction crews to let them know where things were or where things were going to be. Things like a drip line bridge, which they eventually built right on top of those marks. These markings look pretty fresh to me, so I have a feeling the work going on at the AMC Theater and in downtown Disney is going to push into the Paradise Pier parking lot a bit. That's the AMC Theater, and here we have some arrows and numbers. I don't know what any of this means. I don't spot any obvious, acronyms yet, like we did see in when we were watching them build the bridge. We'll see. Time will tell. They may put more stuff down, but for now we just have these numbers and arrows. But if I had to guess, I'd say whatever it is that they're building or doing with the AMC Theater is going to end along these lines. Actually, let's take a quick look at the concept art. If we use the monorail as a landmark, what we're looking at here with these buildings is approximately the Starbucks Express. The AMC Theater would be a little further over to the right, and where we're filming from, where we saw the markings, would be back in this faded orange area. So it's hard to say what their intent might be with extending the development back that way, if that's what's happening. It's going to be a little while before we have any better understanding, I think. Until then, we'll keep heading this way every week. We'll take a look at what's happening in downtown Disney proper in just a second, but we have a new mystery, and we love mysteries. So here's a mystery for you. Disney is building something, I don't know what, in the Lilo and Stitch parking lot, the Disneyland Hotel lot. Now this lot is often used for staging, but this time it looks like they're actually building something in the lot. Off in the distance behind the green fence is a very permanent looking structure. Those large yellow sections were forms. They've since, I think, poured whatever it is they're going to pour into those forms. So soon to be full on walls, just like we've seen them build on site at Galaxy's Edge and elsewhere. We're going to move the camera over to the bridge that they built, connecting the Pixar Palace parking structure to the downtown Disney lot, and across the way, at the very back side of the Disneyland Hotel lot along Magic Way, we have the same structure again. We have steel. You can see steel going up. Very significant, reinforced steel. And 2 stories, evidently. So it's certainly something more than just a portable building like the ones that are already there. I kind of looked into that first. There are 2 portable structures to its left and right, but those are more temporary. Well, they're permanent in the sense that they've been there for a while, but you could easily move them around and put them somewhere else. So this, whatever they're building here, looks a little bit more significant, a little more permanent. I asked our friend of the show, Tustin, about this, and he said it's definitely a permanent structure, but that it could also be moved. They didn't put in a foundation, deep into the ground or anything like that. At least it doesn't look that way. So it's very likely that they're going to, build it out here, but this is not its final place. They're going to install it somewhere. And then he suggested this. And it all kind of makes sense. Starbucks Express is closed, but there's still plenty of demand, right? I mean, Starbucks is busy all the time. But if they wanted to put something in today, if they want to serve that demand today, it has to be both permanent and temporary. Something that can exist in an ongoing work site that is soon to be the western end of downtown Disney. It already is an ongoing work site. But that also needs to be something they can take out for whenever they're done. When they build something, my guess is, whatever's finally done at downtown, it's probably going to include a second coffee shop, so they won't need this thing anymore. So I'm not saying they're building whatever that Starbucks thing is in this image, but it's an idea, perhaps something in that vein at least. Stand by, again, as we'll of course be watching this particular construction very closely. This is a mystery that's going to go on, I think, for a couple months probably. Now, let's see how things are looking out in the front of the AMC Theater in downtown Disney. Pretty much the same as before, really, but we did find that they had raised this enormous curtain. This curtain is separating the work site, the AMC Theater. Well, actually, it's more the Starbucks Express. It's between Starbucks Express and the Lego store. And again, I asked Dustin what this was for, and he said it simply meant to keep debris from leaving the work site and going into where the guests are. And I guess it's more necessary because the work site is so close to areas that are still open and operating and have guests, so you don't want anything kind of drifting off into that into the open areas. And we also found this guy hosing down the site from above. It's quite a sight. I mean, it looks ominous, but it doesn't say no. They're just like we've seen before. They're keeping this is meant to keep the water or the area, the dust down. You dampen the site so that the dust doesn't fly off and get all over everything. So same thing here. It's a little bit different because they had to bring it up on a high height or a lift like that. All right, we've got other updates to get into, so let's get next into the park and onto or looking at the Mark Twain. Fantasmic was in the news last week. We have a date, May 28th, and they're making everything as beautiful and ready as they can. The Mark Twain is covered with maintenance crew all over the place. We saw so many. They're doing a little bit of everything. Swabbing the decks, sanding down and repainting the railings, everything getting refreshed and secured. The Mark Twain is getting more love and care this week than I think I've ever seen, or at least in quite a while. And she's going to shine bright when Fantasmic returns in May. Let's go next to Toon Town, where we've been watching an interesting process of creating the land's new backdrops. We've seen the steel framework attached to the runaway railway building for a while now. And then recently, Disney has started dropping in these large blue sheets. We saw this in our last update. And we had the thought that, obviously, that they might be, they might put the background on top of that, which appears to be what is happening with these recent shots. Workers here are applying a layer of stucco on top of the white sections that were also newly added on top of the blue sheets. Our friend, again, Dustin, taught us that the blue sheets that they put in first are a fire break. And then they installed these white rectangles. They were attached to the blue sheet. And then those are styrofoam. And then the dark stucco, the coat that we see him doing now, is applied on top of that. And then there's going to be another layer of stucco applied on top of this, and then the finished color coat. Cool, right? Meanwhile, over at what will be the entrance to Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, work is progressing quickly on the marquee. Both Liz and I thought they had installed a tooth at first. Did you? Did you think that was an installation, that tooth? Okay, we mentioned before the Mark Twain getting ready for Fantasmic. They're doing more of that getting ready type stuff on Tom Sawyer's Island. We heard a ruckus when we were there with Sophia a little while back, so we checked it out. And this is the front of the island where Mickey's stage is, facing New Orleans Square. We found these guys hard at work. Looks like they're replacing the wood flooring on that stage area, the deck, as it were. And then here's a quick scan of the whole site. Some ducks. Here's some guys working on the Columbia. I just think that's cool. Show rigging for sure. Over at the Royal Theater, the scrim was off for a bit, and we got a look at an exposed roof. They took the roof off, and we can see the structural framework underneath it. My assumption is that they're replacing or refreshing the tent, the canopy or whatever you want to call it, making it ready for show again. And these kinds of things are reminders for me personally, at least, of all the care that goes into taking care of every single show feature for every ride every show, every attraction, all over the resort. It's a constant thing. We take, I think, so much for granted. But there's Disney making sure that the top of the Royal Theater is ready for show, a thing that is only noticed when something is wrong. But rarely do we acknowledge the time, effort, and cost it takes to make sure we don't notice it. We just assume. We expect them to. But I want to say thank you to Disney for this, because it's the kind of thing that they're known for, and I think it needs a little appreciation. Here's another example. The work going on at the Crystal Palace on Main Street, still going on. All that new paint going here, and will we even notice it a week after the scaffolding comes down? I don't know. I mean, obviously we're gonna show footage of how it looks when they're done, and we're gonna say, yeah, it looks better or whatever. But a week after that, I don't know. We're not even gonna talk about it. You know what I mean? We're not even gonna talk about it. That's why I show these kinds of projects. I love the constant care, and I want to make sure that it gets its attention and respect that it deserves. Thank you, Disney. Okay. Enough of that. Over at World of Color, we are nearing showtime here as well. April 22nd. That's about 2 months from now. So there's lots of testing going on. And you can see in the background there are the projection towers. They're getting some work done on them as well. We saw the last of them brought in and installed just a few days ago. Actually, we saw one of those staged. The projection towers was staged at the work site for the back of the AMC Theater behind that fence. So yeah, that's that. So don't be alarmed if you see the show tables or whatever, all the show features being upraised above the waterline. That's just fine. Lots of testing still has to be done. They've got 2 months to get all this thing, all this ready for show in April. And now we're going to end with some photos and a quick video of the new DVC Tower at the Disneyland Hotel. I can't really identify anything here, so I'm just going to allow you guys to look and observe. And hey, if you want to report on anything, feel free to comment below. But yeah, Disneyland Hotel, the DVC Tower is rapidly growing. There's a lot of progress now, visible progress that we're seeing here. And otherwise, that's it, guys. Thank you very much. If you happen to see anything in the parks that you want us to talk about or look at, send us a picture. You can email me directly, david@freshbakedisney.com. You can add us on Twitter, or you can DM me on Twitter. Send me a photo, tell me a story, or send me a clip. If you do send me something on Twitter, it needs to be a separate video, actually. So send me an email if you want to send me video, because I can't download video from Twitter. A little PSA, I don't know. Anyway, let us know if you see anything that you think we'll have interest in. And by the way, we are interested in all kinds of things, so don't even trip if you don't think it's not. You think it may or maybe not be interesting. It probably is. And then follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on Twitter at freshbakedisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at freshbakedisney. We've also got a website where we're posting updates on the regular there, freshbakedisney.com. If you like our show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you very much. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And fresh baked.